Okay, so we're recording. Welcome everyone to the EFS Strategic Xero client training. We're going to run through today all of the basics of Xero and all the basics of the setup. As I said, it's a fairly easy program to use and you'll pick it up quite quickly. So ask questions as we're going along. So the agenda for the training today is I'll give you a quick rundown of why we decided to partner with Xero as a preferred accounting software provider. Give you a tour of Xero. We'll go through setting up the Xero, how to use Xero on a day-to-day basis, how to generate BAS for Xero, or if we do the BAS, how to still be able to get the reports up to check to make sure you're happy with everything that's in there, Xero payroll, and then what you need to do going on from today's session. So, why have we partnered with Xero? We partnered with Xero mainly. I started using Xero in February last year and just found when I started trialing it that the time it took to do things just was a quarter of the time. So in terms of that, I thought, well, if I can save a quarter of the time, clients should be able to save half the time, given I do it every day, so it's generally a bit quicker for me to do those things. So I started using it a bit more for my own stuff and investigating a bit more as to the benefits, and from a client perspective, I started to see that things like the time savings and the automation of processes in the bank rec, the invoicing, the payroll, the add-ons, the ecosystem I talked about in a minute, was just, for clients, it was just going to be a great way for them to be able to minimise the time that they spend on their bookkeeping. As you'll see, the live bank feeds is the key to how Xero works. And so having all that bank data come into your Xero on a daily basis for clients just meant that there's no waiting to the end of the month or the end of the quarter to be processing all that data into your MYOB, your QuickBooks or the Excel spreadsheet, and then struggling to allocate it all. It's there on a daily basis. So if you really wanted to, you could be doing your books on a daily basis. And if you only get, say, 10 transactions a day, it'd take you literally a minute and a half. So things like the setting up of rules and all those sorts of things that we're going to go through just meant that the time saving for clients was huge. And then the Xero ecosystem, all the add-ons for the ecosystem like project management software, other payroll softwares, reporting softwares, point of sale software, inventory software, all linked in the cloud, all talking to Xero, meant that clients could have this complete suite of solutions, all accessible from any browser on any computer anywhere in the world, and the cost to set it up is literally a monthly subscription. So if you were running, say, a point of sale system in Xero, it would have cost you no more than about $60 a month. Yet you've got these enterprise grade solutions that are backed up by themselves. You don't have to back them up, and they're updated by themselves. So you're never having to worry about all those sorts of things that your cash flow managers and your MyObs and all that you have to do. So again, it was just making sense the more and more I got into it. So we started pushing it out to clients, and to date we've got about 70 clients, or 70 Xero users at the moment. Admittedly, probably about 5 of them are our own, but so we've got quite a few on there, and more clients are coming on all the time. So the benefits for us is that we get to see the client Xero file. So when I log in, you'll see that I can see all my clients. I can see how many transactions they've got left to reconcile. I can drill down further into how their debtors are going and their accounts receivables, they're blowing out. I can see where they've actually done their work. So some clients, well, Greg will attest to it now, we've got one client that has been falling behind, and we keep on them, make sure you're getting back and reconcile those sorts of things. So there's a benefit there. We can keep on top of clients, but also it's live data. So a client can ring us up at any time, really, if they want to, and go, how am I travelling? So as we start to get more clients onto Xero and more clients using it for reporting purposes, we're able to advise them pretty quickly as to where they're at. But they were the main benefits for us. And then there's the single ledger. So we actually use the client's Xero to prepare the reports. So basically, it allows us to look a bit more at what the client's doing in their business rather than spending time doing bookkeeping. So better value for money as well to give to our clients. So that's a bit why we partner with Xero. And we actually sit as I guess, a senior partner at Xero. We give a lot of feedback to them, and they've taken that on board, and that's one reason we like working with them. They actually take on board what we tell them, and I presented at the Xero conference myself for Xero to other accountants and bookkeepers, and also they ask us to beta test a lot of things. So a lot of new releases, they're asking us to trial them beforehand, either for ourselves or across a number of different clients. So they actually listen, and they release updates every 6 weeks. So Maya, we get 2 updates a year. But with Xero, every 6 weeks release, and they released one last week, which now has remittance slips, better budgeting, all sorts of things in there. So they're really proactive in the way they're doing it. And because it's a subscription-based fee, you can get out of it any time. And the only cost has been what your last month's subscription was. So they have to keep getting a better and better product for their clients. Otherwise, you'll just go somewhere else. You go back to desktop-based. So we're going along. So tour of Xero. Here, as I said, on this PowerPoint, which you get a copy of, there are the links to various spots that you can go in the help section. But let's go into actually Xero. So when you log in, this will be the screen that you come to. You click on the login in the top right there, and you can probably bookmark this page if you like, so you can go straight to there. If you haven't got it already, there'll be an invite coming out to link you to your Xero file. Okay, if I can spell correctly. Okay. So when you log into your Xero, you'll see, you won't see green, this is the practice one, but you'll see that you've got access to the Xero demo file, as well as any other files that you've got. So you've got one company, you'll have one file. As you can see, these are a lot of our clients. They're already on Xero, so quite a few on there. I can see ICR's there. I think Next Generation's in there somewhere. There's Next Generation, and Luke, we had yours up before. So when you log in, you'll be able to choose your one there. So we'll go into the demo file. I'll give you a tour of what it is. So when you log in, this will be what you see as your dashboard. Okay. These green getting started will be there literally until you get rid of them. So they give you some prompts, how to do things, links to the Xero help section. So I'll get rid of that for the moment. So essentially, here's your dashboard. On the left is your banks. On your right is your accounts receivable, accounts payable, expense claims. And if you choose to want to look at certain accounts, you can look at them on this watch list. So you choose which accounts show up there. So you might have your key accounts like GST and PAYG and things like that. Pretty much across the top are the only sections in the program. So there's not lots and lots of spots you need to go to, and the beauty of it is within 2 clicks you're generally where you want to be. So there's bank accounts, cash receivable, payable, payroll, expense claims. You won't see fixed assets because that's at account level only. It's payroll if you're running payroll. There's a report section, and we'll go back through all these in a bit more detail. This is just giving you a quick overview. So all the reports that you can print. You don't have an advisor tab because we're the advisors. There's contacts. So here are all the contacts that you've got. Defaults with customers and suppliers, but you can add as many different types of contacts as you like. And then the settings tab. So general, all the different settings that you can customize the program with. But that essentially is Xero itself. I think that's what you're looking at. The Help Center. So that's available from Help. Go to Help Center. Or the beauty of Xero is you can get help for this page. So if you're on, say, the accounts payable page and you don't know what's going on, you can go help, show help for this page, and it takes you direct to accounts payable in the help section. So that's pretty nifty. Or you can search directly into the help section up here. It should take us to the same spot. Yeah. So it then gives you a few options as to where you might need some help. And then if it still doesn't work, you actually have another one that says email my accountant on the right here. And it tells us what page you're on and what help you needed. And you can type a question and it sends it to us. Again, we don't answer it. We don't answer it at midnight, but yeah, it sort of says you were here and this is what you need help with. So that's the help center. Let's go back here. And then from the help center, or from this PDF, but from the help center, you can view videos. And where is the link for that? Can't see that. We'll go from here. But the video tutorials for Xero are great because they pretty much have a video of everything. So there are a heap of features here on the right of Xero. There's how-tos in Xero. So how to do bank recs. It's going to, okay. Setup guides, even things like FAQs as to, you know, bank doesn't provide the transactions, how to get them in. Ooh. There you go. So again, you can watch these videos and they're all very short, so they're not long-winded. They just they're straight to the point. And there's tips as well. So they spent a lot of time making it user-friendly from the help section. And again, if you can't work it out, that's what we're here for. You just ring up and how do I do this? Generally, your client manager knows pretty quickly what you need help on and how to do it. The beauty of that is when we log in, we're seeing the same screen as you. And if we can show you how to do something, literally, you know, looking at the same data, so there's no sending files back and forth and asking what went wrong. So that's just a quick tour of Xero, the different sections, the help and the video tutorials. So we might have a look now at the getting started. So we'll just close that up in that one. So generally, and I'll follow the help because it's a good way of making sure that we cover off everything. There we go. So a lot of this stuff we'll actually do for you. We'll put in your name and address and things like that. So it talks about having your organisational settings and the like, but essentially, it's slow today, isn't it? Essentially, there's only a couple of pages to customise in the setup. We won't wait for that.
Totally do mine as an example if you want.
I don't know if it's on my head. But as I said, on the settings screen here, you've got your organisation settings. So literally you're just putting in postal address, physical address, phone numbers, the types. We'll pre-fill this anyway, but again, it's there to be done. You can use back browsers and forward buttons in here. Tracking categories are, you can have two types of tracking categories and there's many options underneath. So, for instance, this demo file's got consultants. It's tracking consultants, their income, their expenses, and things like that. You know, some people use jobs if they're tracking jobs. So it's endless. You know, you can have two categories, but there's many options underneath. So again, and what that allows you to do is print reports based on those tracking, filtering allows you to print reports based on those categories. So ICR could be residential, commercial. You can print a report showing residential versus commercial things. For the salon, you could do all sorts of different things, but you've got a point of sale anyway, so that sort of breaks it up. So again, it's endless, the options that you can choose there. You don't need to worry about conversion balances. That's our job. So we'll be making sure that your last completed financial year is in there, so you can get your comparative reports out. So essentially, we bring in probably 30 June 11 and 30 June 12 figures, so that way you can, you know, when you're starting to review how you're going, because you'll find that Xero allows you to do that nice and easy, you're able to see how you're going year to year. You could go back and put as many comparative years in as you like. It's up to you. Tax rates, that's set up already. Now I'm just going through and showing you all of them, so you don't look and go, what do I have to do anything there? Tax rates are set up. All the GSTs are already there. All the percentages are already there. So that's standard. Chart of accounts. So there's a couple of different options for chart of accounts. You can either use the Xero one that's here, or if you're using an MYB, you can import an MYB chart of accounts. I don't think anybody here was using MYB. So essentially, you'd probably be using the Xero chart of accounts and then modifying it yourself. And that's pretty straightforward. What I tend to say to clients is print a PDF of all the accounts, scroll, have a look at the PDF. This won't actually come up on the screen, I don't think, in the video, but have a look at the PDF and look down the line and go, well, I probably need an extra account there for sales, or I need to have more motor vehicle expenses, and you can sort of make a manual list of the extra accounts you need, and then you just add them. So you add an account, choose the account type. Again, if you're not sure of these, it doesn't really matter, they can be changed later. So if you put it in as an asset and it should be an expense, that's fine. We'll have a look because it'll be showing in the wrong spot in the report, and we'll change it. But let's say you wanted to add another motor vehicle account. Choose an expense account. Codes, you don't have to have codes, but it is good to have them. So sometimes it pays to work out what the codes are going to be for. So we can make it 450 and call it insurance. You don't have to have a description, but sometimes maybe it prompts you as to what your account's used for. The GST, so it's either going to be one of these 5 GST expenses. And then the next 3 is, remember at the start I was talking about on the dashboard, you can choose to show that account on the dashboard to track it. You can tick that box. Expense claims, we'll get to what expense claims are, but if it is something that you want to have expense claims, you've got to tick that box. And you don't need to worry about this bottom one. That's when that's used for more like things like cash, pay things out of cash, like a drawings account. Allows you to debit an expense and credit a drawings account through a journal or something like that. Again, some of these things will go over your head and you'll forget about it. That's what we're here for. So you might ask, how do I do this? And we show you how to do it. So I'll actually save that. And it just adds it in. So there's the one I added there. It's got no balance. You can, from the chart of accounts, drill down into a balance. Shows you what makes up that balance. So I've never used that, but some people like to use their chart of accounts to see things. But I'll take you back to the dashboard and show you how I tick that box. That motor vehicle insurance now shows here in the watch list. So I generally tell clients to tick. So if we go to say liabilities.
When that starts going through the bank account, start chucking that in the right spot.
Yep, that's right. So I tell clients that they should put their GST on their watch list. I tell clients they should put their superannuation payable on their watch list. Because essentially what's happening is if you're showing it on your watch list and you're running your payroll, that figure that's sitting on this dashboard then actually represents year to date. So you could be sitting here on your dashboard going, I've got this much in the bank account, this much due to come in if you're running receivables, this much to go out, I've got to pay out this many expense claims or petty cash, that's what we generally use expense claims for. I've got GST now to pay of $1,500, I've got superannuation, I'm all up to date with that, that's fine, and I've got 9,000 PAYG. So, just looking at the main screen, you can tell whether you're going to run out of money or not. So it helps you with cash flow. Here's your snapshot. There are reports, which I'll show you, which do that as well, but just every time you log in, you're going to be able to see at a glance whether you've got enough money or not, or whether you need to be chasing your debtors and things like that. So that I find is good for clients. So, yeah, so that's the chart of accounts. As I said, don't be afraid if you get one with the wrong type, it can always be changed. If you get one with the wrong GST, that can be changed, but we do have to then adjust the GST, but when you enter a transaction, as you'll see, it's like MIAB or Cash Flow Manager, you can overwrite the GST. Actually, no, Cash Flow Manager, you can't overwrite the GST, can you? This you can overwrite the GST on a transaction. So generally the defaults are right, but this allows you to overwrite them as the transaction goes in. most of the time you find that once your chart of accounts is set up, it's pretty much right, apart from the odd account you might need to add in every now and then. Financial settings, this will all be set up, but essentially this is where we choose the end of year date, the lock dates, so we can lock it so that you can't make changes to a file prior to 30 June, therefore miss things. This will be what your GST basis is, so most of you, all of you are cash, quarterly, PAYG, whether you're monthly or quarterly. If you're paying any instalments, we can tick boxes whether you're applicable fringe benefits and so on, and choose the time code. And again, that'll be done for you already. And then coming down the bottom, invoice branding is where you can go in and either choose the standard invoice that comes out of Xero, or you can have a number of different branding themes, so different types of clients that you might be doing work for might like different, might need different things on the invoices. And the beauty of Xero is you can actually create custom invoice layouts completely, and the beauty is you can do it in Word. So all you do is you design in Word, and then you insert the merge fields that picks up the data, and it makes it, it can be look like whatever you like. It can be a little bit tricky getting the merge fields right. We know how to do that fairly quickly, so it's not, we don't want people struggling as they're trying to get this working. If you can't get it to work, then you just need to let us know, and we can, what I tend to do is get what you want, the Word doc is how it looks, and then we just insert the fields that we need. So, but sent these two that they've created here are standard Xero ones. These are the, these are these new brand, these are these standard themes, but the custom docx themes, just allow you to have anything you like showing on there. So
you still upload your own logo in the standard ones that they've set?
Yep. Yeah, so to upload the logo, so you change the logo, and then you can edit what goes in there. So you might say that you don't want it to show the column headings. You might not want it to show the unit price and the quantity. So you can untick that. No, you don't need to. That's right. So the way it looks, I'll show you now how it looks. So if we just scoot up to accounts receivable, and so I'm sort of jumping ahead a bit, but that's okay. This is just showing you how it'll look. So we can open up the invoice, print PDF. So it's using the standard theme. This probably won't pop up in the video, but that's okay. So it's fairly, people can choose to pay by PayPal direct from the invoice, but essentially you,
when you invoice, does that link it to the system as well?
which system?
Like, does that link that the cost in and everything in and out, like expenses and you know what I mean? Like, so once someone pays that invoice.
Yep.
So
if I wanted to make those invoices for our other company and not the Next Generation account, can I do that off my Xero for Next Generation?
No.
I have to open a Xero for Capelli.
Yes. Yeah. So separate Xero files for separate. If you have a small Xero subscription, if you have a smaller one, you can set up a basic Xero, which is not as expensive from a monthly point of view. But yeah, so it looks fine, and you can choose whether you want. You can choose whether you want quantity and unit price showing. If you don't want to sort of highlight.
Email it directly from
Yeah. So we'll come on to the no, that's fine. It asks questions, but yeah, I'll show you how to email those direct. Let's close that. So yeah, it is very. Again, you might just start with the standard one that Xero's got.
Yeah, that's fine. Cash flow is using Word because you've got to change anything and no logo or anything. That's why I have to export it to Word.
That's right.
That's fine.
Oh, this will make life very easy. And then if you want to, if you find that 6 months down the track you want to build your own one, you can. Okay, inventory items. So Xero isn't a proper inventory system, so it doesn't recall. It'll tell you how many items you've. It'll allow you to select items to sell and buy, but it won't tell you how many you bought or sold. So it's not really inventory in the true sense of the word. So it's not a proper inventory system. What it does do, though, is allow you to set up. It's almost like pre-fills. So if you've got a number like labour, materials, you can actually set it up here to have a code, and it'll pre-fill when you're doing the invoice prices and things like that. No. So it's just pre-fill. I'll show you how that works. But this is where you set them up. Or you can set them up on the fly when you're actually doing an invoice in Xero. But this is where you can set them all up in bulk. You can import a whole heap of bulk ones as well from an Excel file. But essentially, this is just it's just time saving when you're entering things in.
The price each time, or does it have to be separate?
No,
okay. Like to say we get like a deposit, so normally I invoice description would be deposit received for lease fee.
Yep.
But it varies from the customer, so you could still use that code.
Yeah, of course. You just overwrite. Yep. The description.
Like to keep running the same description.
That's right.
The code and then just edit the email.
Yep. Okay. Exactly. So again, it's just time saving.
Yep.
So and then I'll show you how you can set up recurring invoices as well. So that's not a true inventory. If you need a true inventory, there's solutions for that. Currencies, well, I think everybody here is in Australian currency, so we don't need to worry about that. Payroll settings. So this is where you administer the payroll setup. We won't go through that now. We'll save that for a bit later on. But this is where we put in your different pay rates. This is probably more relevant for you, Livio, with all the different penalty rates and allowances and all those things. This is where they all get set up. You set the calendars if you've got different people being paid weekly, fortnightly, monthly, all that sort of stuff. Superannuation is set up in here in terms of the different funds that you're paying into. So how many funds are you paying into? That's wonderful. We won't record that. Afternoon. This is Robert. Robert, this is Luke, Livio, Michelle, and other clients, David, Sam, and Greg. All right. So that's where the superannuation, you add them in there. And the pay items is all the different types of earnings, deductions, reimbursements, and leave. It can be I'll show you a payroll for another client in a minute, which has got it all set up. And then the pay slips that come out of here, obviously choosing the logo and all that, and then the general settings, which links. Like this, we'd probably set up this part in here, but the other stuff you may set up yourself as you go along. Pay items, don't have to worry about that because no one uses that's the old payroll in Xero, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Connect Xero to Xero. If you are dealing with somebody that uses Xero as well, you can have invoices go directly into Xero. So when you create an accounts receivable, it puts an accounts payable draft invoice on their end, or vice versa. So again, if you know someone that wants to move to Xero, give them our number. Yeah. So it's automatic. So you have 2 Xero accounts. Yep, you have 2 Xero accounts. And then add-ons. I'll show you the Xero add-ons in a second. I'll show you now actually. Basically, the add-on directory in Xero is huge. So at the moment there's 150 Xero add-ons in all sorts of things. So customer relationship, e-commerce for websites, inventory, expenses, job tracking. So that's where you can find them if you want them. If you need any help with any of them, let us know. We're certified advisors with Unleashed and Bend as well. But again, we talk to all of them pretty extensively as to what they do. Probably for all of you, apart from you, Livio, there are probably no need for the add-ons, but there are some good Salon ones floating around which talk to Xero. The way the add-ons work is they talk to Xero. So if you generate an invoice in an add-on, it puts it in Xero. And if you pay off that invoice in Xero, it then pays it off in your other system. so that seamlessly talks via the web. So it makes it it's best of breed, if you like. So they're looking at Xero doesn't want it to be trying to have everything in it. It just has the best accounting and payroll, and then it uses Unleash for the best inventory, and then for the best point of sale, and so on and so forth. So that's their approach of doing things. So that's basically the settings. Again, if from the PDF, if you go to these two, it goes through in more detail what the settings can be. We'll end up following up in about 10 days, how you've gone with that, and then finalise setting up all the settings if we haven't already done them for you. But that's a good way just to get a workaround of how Xero works and what you need to do. If you know how it's set up, then generally it's pretty easy to use. So, I guess then we should move on to, anyway, I guess any questions on the setup? It's pretty straightforward. That's it. That's the whole thing I just did, is the whole setup.
Our login details, they're going to be emailed as well.
Yep. So you'll either get them later this evening or tomorrow morning. And what you're going to log into is your file, and I'm pretty sure in your case, in all your cases, they're all live already.
Yeah.
So there's already transactions coming in by the live bank feeds. So we've set them up in advance, and we'll probably go through and set up a fair amount of the basic data for you before we give you the email. Then you can go in and check all the other stuff. And so we'll follow up in sort of 10 days as to how you're going. In terms of, I was speaking to Luke before, but stop you, Sean, what's the state of your September accounts so far? So have you entered transactions in from 1 July to date with your accounting system?
I'm up to date with our sole trader, but I haven't done the company yet.
Okay, that's good.
Because I was going to wait.
Yep.
Xero.
Yep.
But there's not many transactions.
Yeah.
Like we've only really just started.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, so
we haven't really even paid any more to the company.
okay.
Yeah, we're just getting the thumbs up.
That's right. Wait, selfie, yeah.
That'll probably be done in June next year.
Xero. So essentially, and with Luke hasn't done anything in his Xero yet either. So essentially, it'll be for yourself, Luke and Olivia. 1 July, we'll make sure the transactions are in from 1 July, and the training.
It's actually not that many transactions to go through. But the bank statements is going to show everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to process it in from 1 July.
It's just added wages and something for like cash.
Petty cash and all that. Yeah. So for all of you, it's going to be fairly. So for all of you, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I guess the changeover. For some clients, it's a lot harder. They might be using their MyOb on a day-to-day basis, and there literally has to be very little downtime and things like that. But for you guys, it's all going to be pretty straightforward, I think. One reason you're moving to Xero is to make it easier. It'll be good training. So this is the order we're going to have a look at the different things within Xero. Some may apply in all to everybody here, some may apply in part, and some might not apply at all. So we won't go into too much detail, but there'll be enough detail that you know how to do it. And again, that's what then our follow-up in 10 days is for. So we'll basically go through with you and tick off each of these parts and see whether you need it, don't need it, or didn't understand it, do need it, do need to just run a few things over the phone. So contacts. So under the contacts or contact section, it's pretty simple. As I said, default is all customers and suppliers, okay? So you won't see employee, and you won't see that tab, and that tab. So you will see archive, you won't see that tab or that tab. So they've been set up in this demo file as a custom. So you can add as many different custom groups as you like.
So this way each customer's details, the invoicing goes in there.
Yep. That's right. So when you do an invoice for a client, if you create an invoice and you type in the client's name and it's not there, it'll still let you do the invoice. It'll just automatically save a name here, and then you can come through in the detail later. But you can create groups, so you could call it initial clients, commercial clients. Whether you're probably not invoicing your clients, Luke out of Xero Direct, you're invoicing EFS. So computer's not so much an issue, and probably for you, Lydia, it's all contained in the salon software, so probably more relevant for you, Michelle. You could have different types. Again, you don't really need to be honest. If you're going to start running a real CRM customer relationship system, you'd actually have an add-on. You wouldn't run it through here anyway. So, as I say, customer suppliers are there. It's pretty straightforward. So add a contact. The name, that contact name is the name of the business. Details. Okay, find address. So it uses white pages. It should use white pages to find that address. It doesn't want to. Let's try this. There you go. So it just found where we are. Yeah. To level 6, and physically you can either use the same as the postal, or you can find it separately. Okay, phone numbers, it's all pretty straightforward. Skype, website, tax. So if you're dealing with business to business, you can put their ABN, choose whether so it's an Australian business. Obviously, you put if you're invoicing them for work that you've done, GST income. If they're invoicing you, GST expenses. You can put whether you give them a discount or not. Again, you can update discounts. That's a default discount, so you can override that. So if you want to give someone a discount, they've got Xero there, you can put it in. If you've got that the client normally gets a 20% discount, you want to make it Xero, you just override it in the invoice. So it's just a pre-fill again. Currency will always be Australian dollar. Bank account. So if you're paying clients by EFT for all of your supplier type things, you can put the bank account or BSB and account number there and the name in there, and you can use Xero to pay them directly using a file that you download from Xero and upload to your bank. So if you're paying a lot of invoices by EFT, Xero can literally do that for you. So it depends how much you're paying, how frequent you're paying it. For Northmead Bowling Club that we look after, they were writing 150 checks a month for paying all transactions, and we moved them on to Xero, and 150 checks a month was 5 minutes a check, basically to write it, get it signed and do the documentation. So whatever that is, 600 minutes? 600 minutes? About 600 minutes. So now it takes them to write 150 checks about 30 seconds. I'll show you how to do that. That's time saving because they do it by EFT now. They tick the ones they want to pay, they export the file, and they import it into their bank and hit submit. Pay, I'll show you how it does it. It pays it all off in Xero as well, so it does all the legwork. So that's where you enter that in. Certain clients can have certain invoices, so we're looking at the customization of invoices before. So again, for you guys probably not as important.
Assume that does that for payroll as well?
Yes, yeah, that's payroll. But so then, Michelle, for your business, you could have commercial, residential, if you can set up different standards, which is there. And the network key. So we're going to put your network key in our Xero, so when we send you an invoice, it's automatically in Xero. But as I was saying before, that's the same thing. You can, these keys, if you're using a supplier or a customer that uses Xero, you can put their key in there. When you generate an invoice, it emails them, but also puts it straight in their Xero. So that's it. That's how you set up a client or a customer. The beauty of that is, if we just go back out, let's choose someone that has some history. We'll go to this one, Boom FM. So when you click on a client, it shows you sort of what their activity is in the last 12 months. It shows you whether they've got outstanding amounts due to you. If you don't know where you're going, you can click on that and it takes you to Google Maps, shows you where they are. So gets you there. I guess we're going to see. Couldn't find PO Box 57. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. How did I click on that one? That'd be better. Yeah. You think it does, isn't it? So it couldn't locate 43 Ballarat Highway. So it takes you to the United States. So yeah, don't fly over there. Tells you within the groups. You can merge them. Can give you all their details. So again, at a snapshot, you can see a client. But from this contacts page, you can also see, set whether they owe you money or not, whether you owe them money or not. So that's contacts.
This is for not only people that pay you, but it's for your suppliers as well.
Yep.
So I put all in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, put all them. So if you set it up in customers, it'll be under customers. If you set it up in suppliers, it'll be in suppliers. So you should set them both up in there. All right, so that's contacts. Pretty straightforward. As I said, if you create an invoice, an accounts payable or receivable invoice, and you don't have the client already, it'll just automatically create a name like this. So you can see that ATO's got one, but it's probably got no address details in it. No, it doesn't.
You have to go back and edit it.
Yeah, if you want to. You don't have to. Yeah. So that's contacts. So moving along, invoicing. So a couple of ways to get there. You can either go from your dashboard and go to accounts receivable by clicking on that. You can add an invoice direct from the dashboard. You can go to the client in the contacts and open up the client and generate an invoice there to the client. So there's lots and lots of ways you can generate an invoice against a client. We'll go the traditional way and actually go to accounts receivable, and up the top, new invoice. Because there's groups, you can send out an invoice to a whole group of clients, in one hit. Again, there's lots of things you can do in here that aren't relevant to everybody, so it all depends on what you need. And that's why our sort of next phone call with you will be about the customization of specific things that might be useful. The new invoice, and I'll show you accounts payable, but it's exactly the same process. So let's say Mr. John. So you'll see that if you just type in the first one, it brings up everyone with M. And say you're doing an MCO, you choose them, the day of the invoice today, your due date, might be 1 week. Invoice number, if you're already using invoice numbers, we can set it up to start from your next one. Reference can be anything. Sometimes it could be their purchase order number. So they might have a purchase order number or an order number or something. Choose the theme of the invoice you're sending them standard. And then there's the items. So you can choose and it pre-fills it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just type whatever you like. So, sales as per quote. You can do quantities and unit prices, but generally you just use one. Got to show you the tax over here. You can choose the tax. So if you're doing it on a tax exclusive, it'll add the GST in a minute. So just put sales. Adds it on there, but if you change it to inclusive, it does to inclusive. And this is where these categories are. I was saying that right at the start. You can choose categories for the sale. And that's it. You can save it as a draft to look at later. You can submit for approval. If someone has to approve it, or you can just approve it. So that's how you add one. Let's say you went out of it and decided you need to go and change it. It's pretty straightforward just to find that one that we just did and open it up. If an invoice hasn't had a payment put against it, it can be edited in full. If it's had a payment put against it, you can't edit the invoice. So that's not hard. You can just delete the payment off it and reallocate the payment later. But in something like that, if something come up, we've had plenty of clients call up and go, I can't edit the invoice, and we just run them through the process to do it then. So a lot of these things, you'll come across it once and need to call up and ask a question, and we can help you. So you just go to invoice, edit invoice, and you can make changes here. You can add new lines, extra work, $450, sale. And you can change the order of the invoice. So it's probably good for you, Michelle, with your business.
Yeah.
Moving them around so you don't have to keep it in there. And you just hit update. That's it. That's how you enter an accounts receivable invoice.
And once they've paid it?
Yep, so I'll show you that in the next part.
Okay.
So then to manage your debtors, people owe you money, it tells you here, top 10 debtors, who owes you money. It's pretty easy to send statements. Go to send statements. It's a pretty logical program. This one attempts to tell you what to do. And you can choose who they're going to go to. And you can email all of them. If there's no email address, you'll need to put one in. And you just hit send, and you can put a message, and it sends them all a copy of their statement that you've generated and their standard message. Or you can print them. Again, in the branding themes, there's an invoice, a credit note, and a statement for all three. So when you hit print, it generates them in PDF, and then you might print them out and post them. But if they're used to receiving emails from you, then another email. Maybe the first couple of times, it's just reminding them. Sometimes you might have to get it to a printout point, and that's the standard statement theme. Again, looks fine, so you can use those. And I guess it's from a business point of view, probably again, Michelle, more so for you than the other guys. The more you keep on top of sending out your invoice statements, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
So Xero's tried to make it as easy as possible to chase up your debtors. But yeah, it tells you your exposure is down the bottom here. So you can see that small business services is the most exposure, then MCO, then city limousines, etc. So again, there's a good little dashboard. Accounts payable is just exactly the reverse. So it looks exactly the same. This little dashboard over here is sort of telling you when money's due to go out. You can hover over it to see on that date, on the due date that you've put in the second I show you, you're due to go out $840. Should have showed you that in accounts receivable, it's the same thing. So this here is on the due dates, it's showing you when you're due to get this money in. Okay. So accounts payable, again, that can be a reoccurring. I won't show you how to do a reoccurring. That's something that we just show people as they need it.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty straightforward.
We don't really have anything.
Yeah, well, we set that up as a bank rule, so we don't do any invoice for that.
So there's nothing very fast anyway.
So you get an invoice for us, today's date, due date, 14 days. You can put our invoice number in there, the total, because we're such nice people, such a cheap mission for today, $1. Yeah, you can put, again, you can set up items. So even though it's not a case of you're selling EFS's accounting fees, you can set it up as an item to pre-fill. So you could set up, add new inventory item for anything. You could call it EFS, these purchases, consulting and accounting, there you go. So next time you come in, pre-fill there, and we charge $1, and you just hit approve. It's been approved. Rounding wrong. What did I do wrong there? Oh, that's okay. And again, it's the same as accounts receivable. But for pretty much everyone here, you should be starting to get in the habit of anything you're not going to pay on the spot is putting it as accounts payable. So all your supplier stuff will be there's an add-on to Xero. There's 2 add-ons. You can take a photo of it and put it in Xero. So that once you've got used to using Xero, and that's either shoebox or receipt bank. Once you've gotten used to using Xero, if you want, that can be another add-on. That doesn't cost too much, but again, it just means you don't have to worry about this part. Take your photo, looks at who the client is or the supplier is, and pre-fills it from Xero, and allocates it. Once you've allocated the rule in this program once, every time you get an email, an invoice from the EFS, it'll know to put it to consulting and accounting with GST, and it puts the figure in as well. And the turnaround's about 24 hours.
Also, you put the app on your iPhone.
Yep. Take it from your iPhone or your iPad, or you can email them the invoice, and they put it into the system. So it's basically just an outsourced solution for your data entry. But it's another way of doing it. And it attaches a copy of that invoice automatically. So it comes in as a draft and automatically attaches a copy of it here to see what it was. But again, that's an addition. So I get clients to work out, make sure they know how to use it properly here. If they know how to use it properly there, then they know what happens when they do it. But again, so that's accounts payable. Again, nice and easy to do. You can do a credit note against an invoice. So you can, actually no, that's the worst way to do a credit note. The best way to do a credit note is to open the invoice and it hasn't been paid. I should approve it. Try again. Awaiting payment. So to do a credit note, open up that invoice and apply a credit note against it. It pre-fills it all, and you just choose the date that you got the credit note come through. And approve, writes it out, does all the journals in the background. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah, so that's accounts payable. Again, quite straightforward. 2 clicks to get everywhere. When you pay, they've just released it. So if you pay an invoice in here, it will create a remittance slip. Rather than having to photocopy that invoice and send it off to them, you've got a remittance slip that you can send if you're sending it by check, or you can email them a remittance slip straight away.
So just going back to the credit.
Yep, credit note.
Is that for like before you pay it or for after, or either?
Either, yeah. So that credit note, I guess the first time it ever happens, you probably give us a call. It's probably easy to explain it when it happens. You can they may either pay you that refund, and then it'll create a refund receivable, or it'll leave it sitting on there as a credit for another invoice that you can apply later. Yeah. So if we go here, I might just try this. If we go and try, actually no, I won't try that. Ignore that video. Remittance advices are brand new, so I haven't actually tried them, so I don't want to try and show somebody and get it wrong and look silly. But that's accounts payable, accounts receivable. So accounts payable, in terms of using it, I generally say an invoice comes in, get it in straight away. Then you can start to see it build up and put the right due date, because then you can start to do that. Keep on top of it. The other thing is, you might put in the due date. So I'll show you what you can do. You can say, well, okay, these are all the due dates, but I actually don't plan to pay any of these people till the 31st of October. Everyone that I ticked, well, I thought everyone that I ticked would have updated. Oh, sorry, scheduled payments. Okay. So you go to scheduled payments, and it updates them all to be the 31st, and that then affects those graphs that you saw, and it shows up here that a schedule of payments that you plan to pay. You can have all different ones up the top there.
So why would you do that?
I guess, if you're in the trades industry like you guys are, tradies tend to determine when they want to pay versus when the due dates are. So you might decide that, okay, it might say 7th of October, but you won't have the funds. So
it's managing cash flow.
Yeah, it's managing your cash flow basically.
Okay.
Because when you're on the summary now, back on the main page, this has now been updated. So on the 31st, it's now showing there's a whole lot of money to go out on that date. So that's there. Now so one of the good things then about Xero is batch payments. So remember I was telling you, you can put in a supplier what their bank account details are.
Yeah.
So we might decide that today we're going to pay all these invoices that are on the screen now. Tick the box, or you might only decide that you're paying a couple of them. You get a batch payment. almost.
So I don't have to log into NetBank.
No, you still got to do that. So what happens here is, you've got all of the bank account numbers.
Yep.
If you put them in there,
Yep.
choose the payment date. It's coming out of your business account, and make payments. So for paying suppliers, if you're paying them by EFT, it now has paid them all off in Xero as being paid.
Okay.
Okay. Send remittance.
Yeah.
You can email the person a remittance. You can also export the batch
You
file.
can email them with it. So,
Yep.
okay.
So we'll go back. So I now know this is going to work. So there you go. Allows you, here's your remittance. Put in their email address and away you go.
Okay.
But export the batch file is where it creates what's called an ABA file. It's only going to do it for one of them. Creates a little file down the bottom here, ABA. It's an Australian banking something file. You import that into your NetBank, and it pre-fills multi-payments in NetBank. Now, Rob's experienced it with the CBA. If you're not with Combis, if you're just with NetBank, they actually charge you every time you do that.
Oh, okay.
ANZ doesn't. Westpac doesn't. CBA does.
Yeah.
But we've got a relationship with the CBA now, so we're actually trying to resolve for Rob where we're trying to get rid of that for our clients.
Yeah,
So,
that's the normal NetBank.
yeah, so you probably get charged for that.
Yeah.
$1 a hit, unfortunately.
Oh.
$4 a hit. Okay.
$1.50 or $3.50.
Jeez.
Every time you upload something.
Yeah, if you do an upload. Yeah. So they're charging you to upload a file to NetBank and to hit submit. So they're charging you for the functionality basically. They're not doing anything. Every time, yeah. So
Every file we put up.
ANZ's not.
And
They do it every day.
Yeah, you get charged $4 a day. If you did it 3 times a day, you get charged $12. But I'm going to follow that up for you, Rob, about that.
I suppose it's time and cost too as well.
Yeah.
You know, how much time it takes you to do it all in one batch and pay 20 people. How much time it takes you to do versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just a question. Can you automatically direct debit payments?
Not from Xero. So
Should I change all my bank accounts over the ANZ?
yeah. So yeah, you can't. I know Xero has talked about having the functionality to pay from Xero, actually access your internet banking. Problem is, it opens up a whole host of security issues. So it is on their pipeline. They have told me, but it's not in the near future. But the direct debit, I mean, yeah, that's something that does get asked quite a bit. Is multiple recurring payments out of Xero. Essentially, you would just be having to tick that each month if you're going to do that. Otherwise, you'd set up a rule, so you wouldn't actually create it as and we'll show you that in a second, you wouldn't create it as like a hire purchase, for instance, you know, on a car or a lease of a car. You wouldn't create an invoice, you just create a rule, so when it comes out of the bank account, it's automatically going to allocate. Yeah, that's right.
And so what about BPay? You just do it randomly? Like
Yeah.
just put the pay and log in.
Yeah, that's right. So it just paid off. All of those were all just paid off in accounts payable as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to now manually go and pay off each one individually. It's paid them off in bulk.
So if you got the money, you just say pay.
Yep. When you're in that bank. Okay. So let's just have a look. So we looked at receivables, customer suppliers payable, expense claims. So expense claims from the dashboard is you can run a petty cash through expense claims, or traditionally what they say expense claims for is for cash payments. So say you are, paying for a lot of things in cash and not out of the business bank account. Expense claims allows you to basically build up, fuel, some stuff, amenities. So, 7-Eleven is one they've always got in there. 7-Eleven in there? Yeah, there's 7-Eleven. So you can be building up you can just keep building up these expense claims, and then when you're ready to reimburse yourself, you go submit for approval. Okay. Oh, Okay, it was not complete.
Purpose can have a till.
No, not out of till. Till don't work. I'll explain why in a minute. So what was wrong with that? I want the description. Sure. So say there's 4 or 5 there, you tick them all, and you're ready to then basically Lee moves it into awaiting authorization here. Fortunately, there's no way to make that a quicker process, but
That would be more employees.
yeah. So traditionally, expense claims is what they set it up for is employees on the road. There's actually an app on the iPhone. You can submit expense claims via an iPhone or an iPad or an Android app. Puts it into the Xero file of the business. But say you run your petty cash for the month, you just keep putting all your petty cash receipts in here, gets to the end of the month and you go, okay, well I need to reimburse the business myself or the petty cash till $44. You open it up, you approve it, and then you put in the due date. So if you're going to cash the cheque today, payment due date today, reporting date today, authorise that. It's now awaiting payment. So when that money comes out of the bank account, it actually matches it up. So you've just done your petty cash. Everyone's different how they're going to work that. So when it comes time to the next stage of your training, that'll be where we find out from you how you want to run it and set it up. Maybe put a few Word doc together with how you should run it. But that's all you do is, so I guess then cash out of the till, you probably could run it like that. So if you're taking money out of the till to pay for, and that's traditionally what you're going to do, Livio, called magazines, things like that. So you'd do this expense claim. You would then we would pay it off to sales. So as I say, that's why it's different for everybody else. So it's different for every client. So in your case, we would actually pay it off. Instead of paying it off to come out of the bank account, we put it back against the sales account as a credit, so it bump the sales back up. So that again, when you're ready to look at that part, we'll train you on that how you want to work it. Because I've got 65 clients in there, and half of them use it, and there are 30 different ways that we've actually set it up. In here we use it, we've set it up different ways to be used. So. But that's how you can run your petty cash. That's how you can run your expenses out of the till and things like that. So that's the solution for that. And then you've got a record as well of all those amounts. So paid, approved, paid, approved. So that's a nice, simple way to keep track of it. And you can do it off the iPhone app. And you can actually take a photo of it and attach it to the actual expense claim. So if you want to run your petty cash like that, you can just take a photo of everything you're buying, and it'll just build up in this expense claim ready to be submitted into Xero.
I can do that as well.
Yeah. So we're not going to lose track of all those things.
So rather than getting individual dollars and petty cash changes,
At the end of each week, I just make a photo of all the weekly ones.
Yeah. And either one of two things, you can either have that receipt bank put it in automatically, or it'll have all the photos there. And then you'll just create a claim for each one, and it puts it into Xero automatically. But it starts to memorise things anyway. So again, for each of you, we'll work.
So if you take a photo of something and it doesn't know what it is,
then you just got to
then tell you.
Yeah, it tells you that you need to create the rule that you like.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah.
Is that just in the standard Xero app, or is that an extra?
No, it's in the standard Xero app. So it's called Xero Touch. And that's their app. And on that you can do your bank rate, you can do invoicing from it, you can do expense claims from it. So it's pretty good. It's just from the App Store. It's free.
Okay.
And get you to link it to your Xero
But then you
account.
still get the receipts back in time anyway.
No, you can destroy them.
If you have it,
So if you have a copy of your invoice, that's enough if you get an audit from the ATO's point of view. You don't have. Yeah. And then it's saved in the cloud. It's actually saved on the same database that your Xero is saved in, somewhere, Singapore or Texas or New Zealand, somewhere. in a data center. So that's a good way to manage those small things that you might lose. All right. So payables, receivables, expense claims, pretty straightforward. Again, if you off the PDF you'll get of today's training, if you click on the link, it'll take you direct to the spot in Xero Help to run you through it. And then from there, you can either follow the detailed instructions or watch the video on how to do it. So again, the video tutorials are really quite useful. So now I'm going to show you what makes Xero special and what is the time-saving feature of Xero. So all of you have got your bank accounts linked up to Xero now, and you can link as many bank accounts and credit cards and PayPal accounts as you like. So if you had 4,500 of them, you could have 4,500 of them linked in Xero. Not that anyone would, but you can.
Is that all under the same person's name?
No, you can literally link it. So you could try and run two different bank accounts out of Xero, but then it'd be too hard to do your accounts there. So two different entities, Xero, two different entities bank accounts. But as long as you sign the authorization, you can link it. So I've got my personal credit cards linked to my business Xero. So they're in my name, but my Xero's got EFS on it. So as long as you sign the form, they're happy to link it. So from the dashboard, you see here they've got an ANZ account linked. Okay, they've also got a savings account linked. As I said, on my one, I've got two, an American Express and a CBA card linked. I've seen one client's got 10 accounts linked, and that doesn't slow it down or anything like that. So the more you link to it, related to your business, the better. So when you're looking at your screen, you'll see there it says reconcile 27 items. So I think you all know, because I've all explained it to you, is on a daily basis, the bank sends Xero transactional data, and Xero then uploads it in. So the bank's not talking to Xero direct, your file direct, it talks to Xero's channeling system, and then it puts it into Xero for you. So it's just CSV data basically. And you click on your little reconcile button, and this is where the magic happens. It's a bit scary to talk about things like that, but it is. It's where the magic happens, and this is where the time saver is. So on the left here is all of the bank transactions coming in, and on the right is where Xero tries to match things, where you create things, and where you transfer things from. So you see in the very first example, $550 was received, and it's saying that there was an invoice in the system for the same reference person, for the same name, the same reference, and the same amount. So what Xero's saying is, well, looks to be correct. We're pretty sure it's correct. And you'll notice that it doesn't actually allocate it to you. Click on OK. So Xero's never going to do it. Xero will never ever do anything automatically. It still requires you to have that one click. The only thing it does automate is the generation of sending out of invoices. So if you have recurring invoices going out to someone, you can actually set it up to generate, approve and send. But in terms of bank rec, you still have to tick off every transaction. And the reason why that is just to make sure that it's right. But as I'll show you in a minute with another client, I'll show you why it's so fast.
And is that like reconciling, or is that you still have to like approve them and then you still have to go over the whole month again?
No, this is it. So this is your bank rec. So this process now, so if you've been entering your invoices and your payables, you know, weekly, daily, whatever, you come to this part. This is the part of paying off receivables and payables if you do it regularly enough, and this is the part of allocating all the other transactions in your bank account. So in this first instance, as I said, it's found that there's one that looks like it's pretty close. If it's not the right one, or if there's one that's the same, it actually says there's another match that's possible. So it actually says, well, actually, you got two for the same. So if you're getting the same amount from the same person, maybe they're a bit behind or something, it could be there. But you'll see at the top here, there's match, create, transfer, discuss, or find and match. So Xero tries to match it first, but you can click on this find and match was over here, and it brings up all your accounts receivables on this here. And you might go, actually, it wasn't that one. It was actually that one and that one. Or, yeah, you can tick them all. I'll show a better example in a minute. Or if you're not sure of where to put it, actually this one's back up. So if that's correct, you just click OK. It's gone. So what that did was it paid off the accounts receivable in Xero. So that's now come off accounts receivable. Okay. And it's done the bank reconciliation. So the transactions come into Xero and it's ticked it off. It's done. It's gone forever. So we'll just go down the list because there's some good ones here. This one here, so the way Xero works is it looks for a matching accounts payable or receivable. It then looks for a matching unreconciled, unpresented check or an undeposited amount coming in. It then looks for rules. I'll show you those in a minute. And then it looks for, it starts to learn. In this case, it found none of that. So it was unable to find anything for Cooper Street Bakery. So it just leaves it there. So it's up to you to actually then, these are the ones you've got to set up. But you could create a rule if Cooper Street Bakery or Copper Street Bakery was where Sean was always getting his breakfast from, always, then you could create a rule and actually go, well, when money spent matches any of these conditions and the payee contains Cooper Street, contact would be Copper Street. It's not there, you can just add it in. You can put it to staff amenities. It's probably not there. It's not. Right. If it's not there, you can create a new one at the top straight away. So when you're actually in Xero, you can create an account on the fly. So you don't have to get out, go to Charter Accounts, set it up, go back in. You can actually set it up. So call it an expense account. I don't know what code, we'll just give it 550. Staff amenities. We'll put GST on it. So it's easy to add as you're going. You don't have to get out and go back in. GST expenses, the reference will be set from the reference, run the rule in the bank account, give it that. What I say to clients is in the first 2 to 3 months, don't just allocate transactions that you know are always going to come out. If you know it's going to be recurring, add a rule. So your first couple of months, you're adding rules so that then, as I'll show you in a minute, every transaction has a rule then. So let's just create a rule. So if we go back to where we were.
The day like this Caltex, so then you create a rule for that.
Yep. That's right. So you see now it's actually applied that rule at the top. And the rule is in there, and we've set the conditions of that rule already. So you don't actually have to check it. If you want to, you can. It tells you that it's going to put $15.75 for GST to staff amenities. You can modify that. It won't modify the rule, it will just modify that transaction. But if the rule's right, I might just go back in and back out. If the rule's correct, you just click OK. So, whereas in MYB or cash flow, you were having to put that line in, choose the account, the expense account it's going to, it just did it. Okay. Another account receivable saying there's another possible match. So you can go in and check which one it belongs to. You might go, actually, they're disputing the 24th, but they paid the 7th. You just change it. Just click that. This is the scary part of Xero. Xero starts to learn what you've done. So it's looked for an accounts payable receivable. It's looked for it hasn't found one. It's looked for a rule. It hasn't found one. But it's gone, you know what? You've put to Melrose Parking the last month or so. You've always put it to motor vehicle expenses, and you've always put the description monthly car park in advance. And you've always put it with GST. It's going, well, let's take a guess, and is that correct? And it might be, and if it is, just click OK. So it just did the allocation for you, and you're just confirming it. If it's not OK, I think it's one on the next page. Might be another one. Oh, here we go. If it's not OK, you just override it. Now that NAB fee was actually something else. Just override it, just change it. Okay, so it'll never do anything without you clicking OK. Okay, so don't be worried. It's not too robotic yet. It won't take over the world, but it will make life a lot quicker. You can see here it's found there was a credit refund from Dick Smith.
So was that pre-built because you created a rule, or was that just automated?
No, that one was the scary learning part of Xero.
Okay.
So it starts
So
to
how many times does it take to learn?
once or twice.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. So you could just let it learn, and eventually it'll learn.
Oh, okay.
But then learning is more hit and miss. Rules, it's there. So they've set up a rule already, 7-Eleven. So it's seen that 7-Eleven a few times. There's Copper Street again, the rule we created a minute ago. It's sitting there again. So, we know that's correct. So you can see there's a few amounts coming in that don't have invoices. So when that happens, if you know that there were invoices there for match, for Boom FM, click on match, find and match. It might be that Boom FM owed you a couple maybe, or they have underpaid you. If they've underpaid you, you just tick it and you hit split. 1100 they paid you, it leaves that balance of $131 in there, and pays it off. Yeah, so as you split payments, submit all these city central parking, you'd probably create a rule. So this is the whole bank rec process. If you never enter a manual transaction into Xero, your bank rec will never be out. It's pretty straightforward. If you start entering manual transactions into Xero, which you can, so up in the top right here, you can spend and receive money. That's when you can get your bank reconciliation out. But if you're, sometimes people do. The thing you can do is say it's an accounts receivable or accounts payable. Let's say that you're only managing your Xero once every fortnight. Why you would, I don't know. But you can pay off an accounts payable or accounts receivable transaction like the old, well, none of you use Mile, but you can pay them off manually. What it does is create, I'll show you what it creates. It creates this, see that? Oh no, there's not one there. Create something like this, it just says payment, and it allows you to be sort of, if you're only doing your bank rec in Xero, say once every month, if you're going to do that every month, you can still pay off your payables and receivables as you go. But really, for the size of your operations, you probably don't need to. You're better off to use it. Some bigger clients do that, where they pay it off. They don't do their bank rec to the end of the month or the end of the week, but they need to be paying off as they go along, that sort of thing. But essentially, if you never enter anything manually into Xero, it'll always be in balance. And it shows it up there. It'll say statement balance equals balance in Xero. Bank statements, this bank statement, so this is actually the bank data coming from the bank. So it's putting in transactions.
Where is it updated? Like, is it a set time each day?
Generally about 4 AM in the morning, most of the time, yeah. So you open up a bank statement and shows you all the transactions that came in on that bank statement here. If you've deleted something by accident, that's where you can restore that transaction. So let's say that it was getting late at night and you tick it away, I don't know, and by accident you go click, delete, and you go, oh, that wasn't right. You can actually go and find that transaction in these bank statements. Who knows where that one was? If you look at the date. It would be red. You just tick it and you just go restore. It just restores it. First time that happens, clients should freak out and call us up and we find out what it was. We'll just go back to the bank. Once you've allocated a transaction within here, it floats over to this account transactions tab. And this represents all of the allocated transactions from Xero. And this is where you can go and find it and change it if you need to. You might have allocated parking to bank fees. You can go into the transaction and you can edit the transaction. Again, this is all in Xero Help. or we're on the end of the phone.
Yeah.
If you misallocate something, it's easy for us to find it with you on the spot, that sort of
Can
thing.
it allocate things to two
Yep.
things?
Yep.
So they show versus server 11, if it was up to to get to meet client,
Yep.
you can allocate to both.
Yep. So I'll show you. Let's just choose a transaction. So we'll pick this one here. ACL conferences. Who knows? So I should show you add one manually. So we'll call it 711 for the moment. And again, it'll pick up ones that are already in your contacts.
Yeah.
And you go to add details on the right here. And then you can allocate that transaction over as many different lines as you like to add up to that amount. If it's a one-liner, then it's obviously very easy. You just do it all on that one screen there. And you can change your GST from there as well. So yeah, so essentially, the beauty of it is if you're going there on a regular basis, it starts to remember things. Now I'm just going to scoot out and I'll show you what it looks like when it's in force and actually happening. And don't worry, the Northmead Bowling Club's a public entity, so I can show you their data. It's the only one I can. It's good having it on your books. So this is one happening in advance. So if we go into reconcile, so you can see almost every transaction in here has got a rule against it. So I spent the first I spent the first month just creating these rules. Actually, what I'm doing now is I'm actually doing the end of month work already. I'm doing it with my eyes closed. Because I know that it's picking up the right rules. We generate for the club end of each week. At the moment, we generate an invoice for the weekly takings. We're currently in the process of installing VEN, which is the point of sale system, in the bar, and it automatically puts the sales into here. And we're also working on getting the gaming data from the poker machines going direct into Xero as well. So, and just as an example, when I used to work on the bowling club, when I first took it over in April of last year, end of month took about a day and a half to 2 days. And that takes about 3 hours. So I now spend my time advising the board on their performance and where things are doing it. I just reconciled 15 to 20 transactions just then, which in Mile and in QuickBooks was taking half an hour. So that's something that's working. And where you can look at all the rules is you just go to up the top, Manage Account Bank Rules, and there's all the rules. So these are all reoccurring. So leasing, insurance funding, Foxtel, Sky Channel, gaming, interest on loans, you can set up all sorts of rules, so it's pretty straightforward. I'll show you the payroll too while we're here. No, I won't. Oh yeah, well, let's go. It's just people's names. Unless you know them. No, it doesn't show their details. So basically this is the home screen of payroll, and it's all in there, and you can you run your pay runs. I'll show you a bit more detail. It's all there. I like to show this one because it shows it's been happening for, we could go right back to the 1st of July. So we'll go back into our demo file. Oops. Demo. So that was a bank rate. It's just tick, 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 tick. It's all set up. So it just saves the time. I mean, that's the whole thing about Xero, really. It's saving time for you to actually not have to worry about it. So in your case, Livio, there's two things we could do. We could be bringing an invoice in once a week out of your salon system, or we could just be treating it as the cash deposits or the deposits in as just sales. So again, every client's different how we want to do it.
Yeah.
But we can work on that.
Well, I've got written down like all of our cash expenses.
Yep.
July,
Okay. So we've got a bit of work to do just getting it all in and the like.
Yeah,
The feed's been happening, yeah.
Months around with that first month.
Yep.
Pretty much know what to do.
Yeah. Luke, in your case, you've only got 1 or 2 invoices a month, so that's going to be pretty straightforward for money coming in. Just generate the invoice.
So you've got to generate more business, you guys. Now you get more efficient.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Exactly. So that's bank recs and rules. So essentially, the more rules you create, the quicker your bank reconciliation becomes at the end of the month. But you can do your bank rec on a daily basis. I know some clients that do it daily. The wife just pops in the evening. I've got a client, they're a construction business. She just finishes her work at Woolies, gets home and spends 15 minutes. Bang, 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 done.
Yeah,
Literally.
well, it's web-based, so
It's web-based.
you serve there,
Use an iPad, sitting on an iPad. We've got a dentist in the city who came to us when we were at Epping, and I showed her this, and she goes, "That's fantastic because I can do the work on the train. I can do all the reconciliations on because the invoicing's done in a point of sale system, but she does all her payroll and her allocation, her bank rec, and paying her suppliers. She does on the train on the way to work. You could do that in Mild, I suppose, if you had a big old laptop with access to that. But again, on the iPad, it's quite straightforward as well. So that's the bank reconciliation. So, as I said, what we'll do is make sure that from 1 July all the transactions are in, and that's the training. It's going back and just allocate. Again, if you get something wrong, if you allocate the wrong spot, it can be found pretty easily. There's no issues with being able to go back and change it. And that's the best way to learn that. You make a mistake, you freak out, you ring us up, we'll get on and we quickly show you how to change it when you know for next time. And as I say, if you're going from the here, you'll be able to click through either straight from Xero, you can go to this page, help with this page, or you can click from my PDF and take you to the rules wherever they've gone. So, and there's a good video on bank reconciliations as well. And there's one there for bank rules to look at, how to set them up and maintaining. So, again, but that essentially is the what Xero is all about, that automation process. So, particularly someone like you, Luke, you literally have your accounts done in about 5 minutes. That's what it's all about. So, bank recs rules, again, fairly straightforward. So the payroll, just a quick, we'll look a bit more detailed payroll in a minute, but essentially, James LeBron. So then you've got their details screen, the employment screen, which is their start dates, classification, who their super's with, if they're in a group of employees, their hours or salaries, tax declarations, so resident, tax-free threshold, HEX or help debts, leave loading, things like that. The leave section, you can put leave in advance, so you can add leave in for LeBron James going away, leave Christmas, put it in December because he's already applied for it and you're happy for him to take it. That's for 3 weeks or 2 weeks. What this does is it pre-fills it, so when the time comes, it reminds you that obviously he doesn't turn up for work, but it's in the system already, so you don't forget. So what happens is on this main screen for payroll overview up the top, it's telling you that there's upcoming leave coming up, okay, and pending leave. So James has applied for leave, you've got to approve it. What happens is you can actually give your employees access. So for you guys, probably most important, but you can give them all access to this. They can submit their leave applications.
Yeah, well, we actually asked them for what they want.
They can do it directly.
They can do it. So the Xero employee, so the Xero employee portal gives them access.
Okay, so you give them a separate code.
Yep. So what happens is the Xero employee portal, once they're added in here, we'll go in and I'll show you. So options, it won't let me do it. So on the right here, it'll say invite employee to portal. Click on that, it gives them their own Xero link, a bit like you've already got, look at you guys will get.
It's actually on all their own payslips and stuff.
Yep, they can access every payslip but it's very easy to email them when you do it these days. I'll show you. You can, they can access all their pay slips, they can access the last payment summaries, they can request leave, they can update their address, their date of birth, everything. They can update everything in there.
What about, their energy groups?
Yep, that'll be in there as well. Yep, they can get that. So
no excuse for them to come to me and say, hey, it's a week late.
that's right, yeah, exactly. Well, if you haven't generated it a week, it might still be late.
Yeah.
So, but it's all there. So there's leave, the bank account. It can be split into as many bank accounts as they want paid into. Pay template, which then is their base. So it might be for someone's on a salary, very easy. Someone's on a hairdresser award. You can have all the base allowances and penalty rates all in there. And then when you do actually run the pay run, you just configure it. Opening balance is more if you do start a payroll, which will probably be for you, Livio, starting at mid-financial year. So I have to bring in their opening balances. So you can have opening balances for all the super tax and gross plus their leave balances as well. So it manages leave quite well. And the payment summary. So yeah, it'll be there. It'll be sitting there, but there's none being generated. So I'll go to payroll a bit more detail because for you, Luke, and for you, Michelle, it's probably something that we could set up over the phone in about 5 minutes. It's something for you guys, but we might, if you've got time, we spend another 10 minutes or 20 minutes just going through it at the end.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be more beneficial. But yeah, it's full function payroll. There's no updates ever needed because it's done by Xero. So you don't have to roll over your file and all that sort of stuff. You can run timesheets through here as well. If you have more than 20 employees, you can have automatic super payments come out of Xero, literally come out of Xero. So
They fill in the timesheet, then pay it.
no, you'd have to input the hours in. There is an add-on called Deputy, which the North Move Bowling Club are putting in. They're now using it, and it sends to them their roster on their iPhone, and they bundy on and bundy off on the iPhone. It puts it directly into Xero.
And then you still have to do payroll.
You just go submit. You just approve the hours, and you go submit, and it runs the payroll. So again, there's all these. They do it well, but then they've got really good add-ons if you want to take it to the next step for those sorts of things. So we can talk about that. But again, if you're running a salary, literally you just go payroll, pay runs, add a pay run. So it might be the weekly pays to employees. If you're on salaries, it might be correct. You might already know. You just go post, yes. From here, you can email pay slips direct to the employees. You can print the reports. Then there's two extra things that you do. One, download ABA. You know, we create an ABA file for paying suppliers. Same thing with payroll. So then if you download an ABA and upload it, you can pay all your employees. So the North Move Bowling Club use that. They've got a pay run of 30. We've got a client in Perth that we do the payroll for. He's got a pay run of about 30 as well. We run the payroll. We just download the file, put it into his ANZ, and he approves it. And then what? Yep. So what happens when you run the payroll? You create this draft invoice, and what that does is create. Now this is going to change soon, but for the moment it is how I'm showing you. It creates a draft accounts payable invoice. So that payroll is now in your accounts payable, and you go into draft, you approve it, and then when the money comes in a bank account, it matches up. There's an accounts payable for that amount, and that amount's come out of the bank account. It just ties it up. So particularly for you, Livio, you do that draft invoice, the money goes out, and then it matches it up automatically in your bank reconciliation. So it's just automating that process. But I'll just go back into. You can edit a pay run. So if we go one we just did, you go, oh geez, I've got the wrong one. You can revert it to draft. You can do that for any payroll. It's not just the last one. So you can go back to the first one and get it right. you might realise that a debt actually worked 40 hours. That's where you update your hours in there. You can always add more earnings lines, so the person might have worked overtime, so that'll be set up there. They might have an allowance that was missed out. You put that in there. It was $10 for, I don't know, 1,000. You might have a deduction. Got a haircut and you charge them for their haircuts pre-tax. I don't know. Anything. It's all there. And then super's worked out 9% as well. And then you just save it. So that's how you do a payroll. That's quite straightforward. But salaries are easy. It just rolls it. But that's. Yep. So in the reports, I'll show you those in a minute. But in the reports, that's where they are. And it pre-fills the BAS. Not yet, but will in about a month. So that's payroll in a nutshell. So I'll show you a bit more, I think, at the end on that. Reports. So up the top, we've got the reports tab. All reports is where all the reports are. So performance reports, position reports, detailed reports, payroll reports down the bottom. So payroll activity summary will show you for the month. So you can go last month, for instance, and it shows you, not done there, but it would show you the earnings, the tax and the super.
Okay.
Good old demo files. So we go this month. Might help. Help? Okay. No one's been paid. Oh, that's right, because I undrafted it. Yeah, I put it back in draft. But that would show in there, obviously. P&L, balance sheet. What's a good report is the executive summary report. Just gives you a snapshot of where your business is at. Cash received, cash spent, balances, income, costs. Just a snapshot at a glance of where you're at. Again, people can interpret those things as they see fit. But essentially, yeah, they always get more and more reports, but they're pretty stock standard in their GST reports over there. I'll show you the BAS in a second. You'll never need these pay run reports. That's the old payroll system. But the main things you'll lose might be profit and loss, payroll reports down the bottom, payables and receivables, but you can get those reports from payables and receivables up here anyway. So you can get to these reports from other spots as well, but this is the main centre. If it's got a star next to it, it means it sits in this favourites. So if we wanted to have executive summary as a favourite, it's now there. So again, you just go into it, and it's got lots of different configurations, month to date, year to date, current financial year, date range, choose the dates, so it's all configurable. But again, the best way to look at the report is just get in there and play around with what's there and what works. And if you make it a favourite report, it's easy then do it. You can publish a report, it means that the report is locked, so that data never changes, and that's what happens when you do your BAS. You publish it so you know that's an audit trail. So I'll show you the BAS now, because reports it is what it is. You can get you can go to the link there and get some more detail on interpreting reports. Xero's got a thing on interpreting reports and all that, but again, that's if you need it. You can get add-ons for things like KPIs and all that sort of stuff. Advanced reporting, which Spotlight reporting is one that we use, but again, it all depends on what your business needs. Actually, I'll come back to the BAS, that's coming up. Budgets, you can run budgets in Xero. So there is the budget manager under reports. You can have overall budgets. You can have specific budgets for jobs, specific budgets for divisions, all those sorts of things. So it's pretty useful if once you've know how to use Xero, you can create a budget and then flow that amount. Makes it easy to update. So the same amount each month for sales, or adjust it, give it a CPI increase, something like that. So it's just useful, and then you can track your budgets. So in reports, there's always an option, comparison to budget. So you went budget to actual. So we can assist. We build budgets all the time for clients, so we can help you build a budget outside in Excel. So you can export what's here, put it in Excel, modify it all in Excel, and you can import it back in. So there's lots of different ways. But it's just, again, it's another good feature if you actually want to track how you're going. Wide view puts it on the full screen, has all your accounts in there. And I'm building at the moment for the Northern Biker their budget for the next sort of 12 months, and that's this long, but it's made easy with the use of Excel and all that sort of stuff. So again, it might be something that you need to use, it might not. I'll go back. So really, they're the main things in Xero day to day. The bank rec's probably the most important part. If you didn't run accounts payable, accounts receivable, you could just run it all from your bank rec, literally, because you just set up a rule, or if it comes in, you just allocate it to purchases, or you allocate it to telephone, or So if you haven't set up an accounts payable system, you don't have to, but that's good if you want to start managing cash flow. Okay, BAS. So again, that link will take you to the help section, which is quite detailed as to how to do it. Pretty much in a nutshell. It won't be under the advisor tab, it'll be under reports. So you go to activity statement. It takes you to the BAS. So if we choose, let's say 1st of July to 30 September, we go BAS. It's pre-filled, the BAS, a lot easier than Miles Bank Link, and no, Cash Flow Manager doesn't do it. The W1, W2 from wages hasn't pre-filled. In the next month, that'll be updated. So it'll pre-fill from Xero payroll. So you can just type it in. It tells you your BAS amount.
No, because you still have the draft. There's nothing in there?
No, it's functionality coming. Yeah, so at the moment it doesn't come over, but it will in about a month.
Yeah.
That's the next big release. You can publish that report. What that report has is a worksheet, which is if you're around when GST first came in, the old worksheet there, all the Gs. There's a copy of the BAS which we just saw. Got the labels which you could print out and put into your pink BAS form. Okay. And there's an audit report, which is basically every transaction that makes up those amounts. So let's go across. So that's where you can check. That's where you can scroll down there and go, well, hang on, that should have actually had depreciation on it. You can click on it and go to that transaction and change it.
That's what you're going to check out before you want to go.
Yep. In about 12, maybe 18 months, Xero will have standard business reporting, which means you can lodge your BAS directly with the ATO from Xero.
Okay.
So there'll be a button that says submit to ATO.
Yeah.
Click, sends it straight to the ATO. In about 18 months.
Yeah. So at the moment you're looking to the e-portal.
Yep, type it in there. So, but that'll be and when they have BASs working in there, it'll actually be your tax returns as well. So a company tax return can be lodged direct from Xero. We're starting to use Xero. We'll be using Xero for all of our stuff anyway, so we can lodge it direct from Xero. That's the whole process.
Yeah.
So that's the BAS report, and you can print that. So you can print out and review it. You can send it to PDF to save it, and if you publish it, oops, just closed it. If you publish it, what it does is, I guess, it locks in the data that you've then, it locks in within the system the data that you've lodged with the BAS. So, some clients in Mob used to forget to print out their GST detail report, or Cash Flow Manager might not print out the audit report, and then it's lost. If you publish it in here, or even if it'd be sitting in draft now actually. So under all reports, yeah, so it's in draft. So if you didn't publish it, it's still sitting there. So the ATO, if you've made change, the reason why that's important is if you've made changes in that period post lodging your BAS, the 18 hours an order on the BAS, the audit report's not going to match up. So at least then you can give them the report that relates to that BAS that you sent in. Even if it bears no resemblance to actually what the case is now, at least they're going to be happy. That's the main thing. That's the BAS. Again, it pre-fills it. So as long as you use the right GST codes, you can. There is a report, an exceptions report. If I can find it. So yeah, GST reconciliation. And no, that's not the report, sorry, it's a different one. We often don't use these reports because we just go straight to source. We look at you. We can read your audit trail and look for things that don't look right. But for clients, there's another report in here which is useful. Just need to find where it is. It's called. Where is it? There's an exceptions report. I might just go there. So, GST, BAS, tax. Where'd that link go? Find that. Where is it? And see BAS on there. Where is that? Save reports. It's disappeared. Can't see where it is. My link didn't take me there. Tax. Apologies about this. Where's that gone? Tax. Filing. Oh, that's New Zealand. Okay, it's a bit annoying. There we go. Ah, here we go. BAS. So there's a report, activity statement. You. Actually, it's gone. Sorry about that. There was a report that there used to be in there that showed you where the GST codes changed from what the standard was. So if you've overwritten it's not there anymore. There used to be a report you could print that showed you where you if you change it from say GST on expenses to GST on something else. So that's gone. So there you can have a look at that one. Apologies about that one. I didn't know when that one had disappeared. But that's there. So the BAS again, if you use your GST audit report, that's going to be where you can see where if you've got something that looks like it should have had GST or it should have had GST claimed. That's where we're going to see it and change it at source. But really, I think that's about it. So Olivia, I'll go a bit more payroll with you, but from here, we'll give you all the links so you can get in. You've already got yours. I'd have a go. We'll customise. We'll get all the standard data in there. But then, if you just have play around customising the chart of accounts or standard invoice, bring in some contacts, start entering in some contacts. In terms of current year transactions, all of you have transactional data come in already. So when we follow up with you in 10 days, or within 10 days, so probably the next week basically, we'll arrange a time to speak on the phone. We'll make sure that we've got all the transactions back to 1 July. So it might just be having a manual download out of the bank, out of your net bank or whatever your bank is, and then uploading it into the system. And then, yeah, we'll just follow up with where everything's at, and that might be where we need to then just arrange how to run the expense claim specifically, or for yourself, Luke, or you, Michelle, the basic payroll to do that. But as I said at the start, you can either use Xero Help, you can raise tickets with Xero. Because they're worldwide, you might send something at 12 a.m. and get a response at 1 a.m. If you're still working on it that late, because it's all different time zones. There's always someone looking at it, and the basic functionality is the same worldwide. If you don't get any help from that, obviously that's what we're here for as well. And 9 times out of 10, look, it's pretty easy just to ring up us and, how do I do this? We can tell you what it is. That's about it, I think. Any questions, I suppose, in regards to how it could work? No? Yeah, look, it's a bit to take in, and that's why we could go on to now customising each one of you now, but give it a week and you get in there and play around, and then we do it. And so it takes about a month, 2 months, and then it's just humming along. So what I did in North American Bowling Club only took 2 months to get to that point, and there's a lot of transactions in there, so it does become pretty straightforward to get that going. Let's do the payroll. So for the payroll, we go to settings first, and then payroll settings. And
so I don't go into payroll, just to settings.
Yeah, not for the main settings. So these are the main settings. These are standard, so you won't need to change those.
Is this my account? Oh.
No. What we might do here, we might go to your account. So what I'm going to do then is stop that. Stop.